many CISOs, and I was the same way, for some reason we're programmed and society almost rewards or encourages this, that whoever is super busy, whoever's working really long days, those people should be rewarded. Welcome to Life of a CISO. I'm Dr. Eric Cole, your host, and we'll be taking you on a journey each week on what it takes to be a CISO and what are solutions that you can implement today if you are currently a Chief Information Security Officer or if you want to be one in the future. This is Life of a CISO. Welcome to this week's edition of Life of a CISO with yours truly. Dr. E is in the house. Hope you are doing awesome. Hope you are having an amazing fourth quarter and you are just crushing it from every single angle. But remember, doesn't matter where you are for the year, doesn't matter where you are for your targets, where you are for your goals. Most games are won or lost in the fourth quarter. So there's still time, right? There's still time to regroup. I won't go into it in this podcast because I did it in previous ones, but I'll just give you a real quick summary. The whole idea of getting a lot done is it's all about focus. Look at a light. If you take the lights in this room, they're pretty dispersed and they're providing some nice benefit to me, but they're not really providing any damage. But you take that same exact light and you get it very concentrated and very, very condensed into a laser, and that can actually cut through metal, cut through walls, and become very, very powerful. That's what you want to become in sort of getting in what they call the zone, the flow, right? Well, whatever state you want to utilize. Most people are trying to do way too many things. They're trying to do way too many things. This is a problem with most CISOs. They believe that busy means productive. I can't tell you how many Chief Information Security Officers I coach, and the first thing I do is basically go, okay, we are simplifying your life. We are reprogramming how you think, and I'm going to lay out your schedule for the next 30 days. And literally our first couple of meetings, all I'm doing is basically program managing them, because many CISOs, and I was the same way, for some reason we're programmed and society almost rewards or encourages this, that whoever is super busy, whoever's working really long days, those people should be rewarded. I'll be honest with you. Now, in some cases, there might be a lot of work to do, but in a lot of cases, if you're sitting there and you're doing hundreds of things and super busy and too busy to do this, and too busy to do that, and you gotta get up early and stay late, most likely it's because you're not focused and you're actually doing way too many things that really don't matter. Busy does not mean productive, and busy should not be necessarily rewarded, right? If you're focused and aligned and you know what you're doing, you should be able to get done everything you need with time to spare on the back end. So what I always do is, let's make it real simple. One thing. If there is only one thing and one thing only that you could do in your job that would have the biggest impact, what would it be? And then do that every single day. Most of the time, that one thing for most CISOs is meeting with other executives. Spending 20, 30 minutes, whether it's getting coffee, having breakfast, going for a walk, casual chat, or a formal meeting, but spending time with other executives to talk about the business, understand the business, and engage with the business. So I want you to focus these next 90, 80, 70, 60 days, whatever time you're watching this, really on minimizing your life, removing the busy stuff, and reprogramming your mind that being the busy, crazy, chaotic CISO is not a world-class CISO. I will take you to meet some of these world-class CISOs, and you'll be blown away. Their day is so optimized. They are typically working a couple of hours a day on the business. They're then doing other things, doing prep, doing other areas. And very often these world-class CISOs coming in around 8-ish, leaving around 5-ish, and have time to actually work on other projects, meet with other people, and do unexpected things. So I just want you to reprogram your brain that this idea of busy and crazy and chaotic, oh, I'm so busy, I gotta work late today, I'm so behind. No. That is what society wants you to believe is productive, but it's not. Focus on high priority, optimize, do what needs to be done, focus on the highest priority items, and you'll start to see everything starts to change very, very quickly. The other trick, do this for 3 days. I do this every quarter. Every quarter from the 1st to the 3rd. Sometimes I do 4th or 5th if it's a weekend, because weekends are a little different because I'm working, but nobody else is. But the point is, you want to do this for 3 or 4 days. Track your time down to 15-minute intervals. I know when I say this to people, they're like, are you crazy? Well, that's a whole different conversation. I probably am at some level, but they haven't tested me, so I'm gonna keep walking around on the streets and being happy and sharing the good message with all of you. But the point is, it gives you visibility. What is the most powerful tool of a CISO? The most powerful tool of a CISO, and I would say the most powerful tool of any chief officer, is awareness. Being aware of what you're doing. Being aware of how you're doing it. Being aware of where you're using your time. Most people have no idea how much time they're spending on different tasks. So 15 minutes from the moment you wake up, brush your teeth, right? Do whatever tasks you need to do, right? In the bathroom, right? If you're spending too much time in it, might need to increase some fiber in your diet, but let's not go down that road. But the point is, you really want to get to a 15-minute interval, because what it does is it identifies time wasters. The biggest one that probably doesn't shock you, but it shocks me that people are shocked of how much time they actually waste on social media. I hear it all the time going, Eric, before I did your exercise where I tracked my time at 15-minute intervals, I would say maybe I spent 10 or 15 minutes on social, because I just check it for a couple of minutes, but I don't realize every time I'm checking it, it really is taking 20, 30 minutes, not 5 like I thought, and it ends up being a couple of hours. So that's another nice trick, is track your time down the 15-minute interval, see where your time's going. See where you're the most productive. See when you're the most productive. I'm the most productive in the morning. I'm a morning person. I like getting up early. That's when I do my big tasks. Later in the day, I can get tasks done, but as we're getting into 3, 4, 5, 6 p.m., I get a little less productive because I get a little more tired, because there's only so much energy in the tank on any given day. So you want to just track and monitor all those different areas and just start really dialing in and becoming fully aware of what you're doing and how you're using your time. Last tip, and then I'll jump into today's topic, which is resources. And that last tip is this: start leaving your phone in a different area. I started doing this when I go to the gym. I don't bring my phone. I either leave it in the car or leave it in the office. And I had a friend that would be like, really? He started doing it, and guess what? His workouts increased in intensity. He is looking so in shape, and his workouts take 50 minutes instead of 2 hours. Because he says, Eric, with my phone, I don't even realize it, but I was in the gym and I was doing quick reps. I really wasn't pushing heavy weights. I really wasn't focused. And I was just texting and emailing and working and surfing the whole time, that my workouts weren't productive. I was spending over 2 hours and I wasn't getting results. He goes, I leave my phone in the car now, in and out in less than an hour, and getting super pumped workouts. So that's another trick, is leave the phone home or office or car. It's a distraction. It is one of the worst distractions ever created. It's one of the best inventions ever created, but the worst distraction. So that's just one other trick. So now let's switch to today's topic. This one has been coming up a lot with my coaching clients. I had some group coaching this past week. I had some one-on-one coaching, and the theme, it seems like there's these themes that come up. And the theme that came up was, Eric, I just don't have enough resources to do everything they want. Right now in my current organization, I am the CIO. I am the CISO. I am the CTO, right? I have all these titles. I don't have enough people. I don't have enough resources. And it seems like all the execs are doing is just keep pushing more and more and more on me, but not giving me any more people, not giving me any more dollars, and not giving me any more resources in order to get the job done. What do I do? And this is one of those where the answer is easy. The answer is simple, but we've been trained that it's the wrong answer. And the correct answer is push back with data. Not emotions, but data. And it's funny because whenever I bring that up, one of my key mottos, if you ever work with me or spend time around me, you'll always start laughing because one of my phrases I use all the time is let data drive decisions, not emotions. Let the data drive. The data is factual. Like data is factual. Emotions are subjective. So we want to stick with objective data and not subjective data. And I always bring this up saying you need to make the executives aware of what they're asking you to do, the time it takes to do it, and the resources that are needed. Because the reality is, it doesn't matter how creative you are. It doesn't matter how much in flow you can get. It doesn't matter how brilliant you are. You can't put 5 gallons of water in a 1-gallon bucket. It just doesn't work. It can't be done. Now, yes, you can condense 5 gallons of water down to 1 gallon, right? You can get bigger buckets, right? There's options you can do. But the bottom line reality is if you are giving me a 1-gallon bucket and you expect me to carry 5 gallons of water, it is not possible. And that is the unfortunate scenario that most people are in. But here's the issue. For some crazy reason, we were trained that we're not supposed to push back. We're supposed to just take it, right? And fight it, put in longer hours, and put in harder work. And yes, there is some of that. Right? There's some times where if organizations are going through different cycles or acquisitions or downsizing, you got to put in a little extra effort. But there has to come a point where you recognize that what they're asking to be done cannot be done. The analogy I always give, if you're not a car person, it's a multi-million-dollar car. But most companies and most executives, they want Bugatti-level security for the price of a Honda. It's not going to happen. Right? If you want to spend $35,000 on an automobile, you can get a good automobile. You can get a pretty solid, reliable automobile. You're not going to get a Bugatti. You're not going to get a Lamborghini. It's just not going to be possible. You can't. So you either have to do one of two things. You either have to accept that a $35,000 automobile is a nice automobile. And where you're currently at, that's all you can afford. It might not have all the speed and features and other factors, but it will get the basic job done. Or you need to recognize that you want a Bugatti and spend the money. But you can't have it both ways. And the problem is, we as Chief Information Security Officers have promised that. We have allowed that because, like I said, there's some training that we have to unprogram that we think we're supposed to just say yes. So we've got ourselves in these situations where when companies are like, okay, you're the CIO. Now you're the CTO. And oh, you're also the CISO. And also you have this and compliance and regulation and all that. And by the way, we're pulling half your staff. And here's the problem. We do one of two things, and both are wrong. The correct answer is door number 3. The first one is we tend to get emotional. I can't do this. This is too much work. This is not acceptable. There's no way we can. Blah, 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 blah. And emotions, people shut down. When you get emotions in the office, most other executives are like, okay, we'll let you get emotion. You can go ahead and have your temper tantrum all day long as you want. But the reality is, it would help if I move the mic up, but the reality is you're not, no one's listening. No one's listening or responding when you are emotional. So, wrong approach. Second approach that most of us do is we're just like, I guess it is what it is. We really can't fight. We really can't push back. We just have to accept the reality of it. And then it gets frustrating. We get frustrated. We get mad. We get angry. Then the work's not getting done. The executive's getting mad and angry. And it ends up being a not good environment to work in. The third option, which is what we're going to talk about today, is go back with the data. These last 2 weeks, this is pretty much all my coaching, where I've sat down with everyone and said, okay, let's break down your current job. Your current job under CIO, here are the things you have to do on a daily basis. 2 hours for this, 1 hour for this, 3 hours for this, 5 hours for this. Then for the CTO job, these are the things you have to do on a regular basis. And you lay it out. And then for the CISO job, here's the things that you have to do on a regular basis. And great. It's 37 hours a day required to do all 3 jobs. Not going to happen. Even if you don't sleep, even if you have no life and you live at the office for 24 hours, can't be done. 37 hours doesn't fit into 24. So then we lay it out. Then we prioritize based on what we think is important to the organization. We put together the chart, and then you go back to the execs and say, listen, right now, this is what you're asking me to do. These are all the tasks that you're requiring me to do, and it can't be done. It's 37 hours. I have one person, assuming I work 12-hour days, which is even pushing it for some, but let's say 12-hour, nice 50-hour week, pretty solid. So even 12 hours can't get done. So I'm going to propose that these are the high priority tasks I focus on, and I just want us to agree that these other tasks are not going to get done. If the tasks that I picked are not acceptable, you can remove them and pick others, but it needs to fit within a 12-hour day. So we can't get in a scenario where you now add 5 items and we have 5 gallons of water in a 1-gallon bucket. That's not going to work. So if you want me to focus on other items or other areas, then what is it that we can remove that I'm not going to get done? And I know for many people, it's an uncomfortable conversation, but it shouldn't be. It's reality. It's the reality of the world we live in, that they are giving you too many things to do, and you need to go in and basically get alignment with them. The other skill that I want to teach you is, once you do that and you get alignment on your priorities, what can you almost guarantee is going to happen? There's new things that are going to pop up. There's new things that are going to happen in meetings where they're going to be like, okay, Eric, we need you to now, we're acquiring this new company, and we need you to focus on that acquisition. Or new compliance regulation is coming out, so we need you to focus on that regulation. Now, once again, what's the issue? How do most people respond? They say, okay. They then go off and they have their little temper tantrum. They're frustrated and they're upset because they know it can't be done. Correct response. Great. As you know, I have a currently full plate. So here are all the things that I am currently doing. If you would like me now to focus 3 hours a day on this, what items can we take off my plate? And now you're having an open, honest discussion that's objective with factual data. And now they can pick and choose. They can say, okay, I see that these are the items critical. If we need this done, we're going to have to remove that item, or vice versa. And now you're having an open conversation on resources. The other thing you will find happens when you do this is all of a sudden, you will start to get more resources, because they're going to start realizing that, wait a second, we keep pushing more and more and more on Eric because he is really good and he is top notch. But as we put more items, the things that we need to get done aren't getting done. So we either need to recognize that, or we need to give Eric more resources so he can delegate and task other people to do those items so we can actually get more done. And it actually, even though in the beginning it seems a little uncomfortable, it actually works brilliantly. But here's the trick. You have to show the actual data. You have to be willing to show, here's where I'm spending my day. Here's how I'm spending my day. I'm spending my day 3 hours here, 2 hours here, 4 hours, and openly show them what you are doing so they can pick and choose. The problem that I see with a lot of CISOs is they either for some reason don't want to show how they're using their time, or they don't know. And then they just come back and say, I'm too busy. I'm too busy and I can't do any of those things. Notice, the thing I want you to become very aware of is what you're saying measurable. Because remember, if it's measurable, it's facts, it's objective, it's power. If it's not measurable, it's emotions, it's subjective, and it's draining. So I hear people all the time, and I'm spending a lot of time on this because I always get pushback. We're like, oh, Eric, I've tried it, and it doesn't work, or they don't listen, or they're not giving me the resources. And I know you're saying this, but the reality is it works if you're doing it correctly. If you're not doing it correctly, then it doesn't work. So it needs to be factual, objective data. You need to be willing to go in and say, I am spending 2 hours a day on this. I'm spending 3 hours a day on this. Now, yes, they could come back and say, okay, instead of spending 3 hours on this, we want you to spend an hour on it, which is great. But then you get that next conversation with, okay, but you realize that my reply rate is going to drop significantly. I'm no longer going to be able to respond to what's happening or what's occurring. Now, once you do this a few times and they start realizing just how much time these tasks take, because here's the reality. The reality is quite simple. Most executives, most companies, they're not trying to take advantage of you. They're not trying to go in and make you work 30-hour days. That is impossible. Technology, IT, and cybersecurity are things they just don't understand. They don't understand, and they don't know or appreciate how long it really takes to do. Most executives know how long it takes to do the books. So they don't need to have these conversations with the CFO because they know that it takes a lot of time to do the books, do the finances, do everything. And they also know that their CFO is basically fully tasked with the current running of the finances for the business. So because they know and understand that business line, they know that if they're going to put more work on that CFO, they need to give them more resources. And they also know that the CFO, if they try putting more work on them and they don't give them more resources, they're going to push back. They're going to push back and say, this is not working for me. And same things with operations, same things with marketing, same things with those other areas. But the reason why this is and has become such a big area is they don't understand or appreciate technology, IT, or security. And here's the issue. We've never told them. So to them, it's like, oh, this stuff doesn't take a lot of time. This stuff is easy, quick, and simple. And I keep giving them more, and they keep taking it. So it must mean they can handle it because we've never completed the feedback loop. So this is an area when it comes to CIO, CTO, CISO, anything in those technical arenas, there's this broken communication chain where executives don't understand what it really takes. The technical people have never really pushed back, and therefore we have this frustration factor where the executives are like, why aren't things getting done? And the technical people or the strategic leaders in those technical positions are saying, why don't they understand? Why do they keep giving me more? Why do they expect me to put 5 gallons of water in a 1-gallon bucket? So this is one where very professionally, you need to break the habit. You need to retrain and regroup and recognize that, listen, if you want Bugatti level security, you got to pay for a Bugatti. If you want Honda level security, we can give that to you, but we have to do a much better job of tracking, owning, and communicating back to the executives with objective data, saying, listen, I should have done this earlier, but you keep putting more on our plates and we cannot do it. Let me show you what's currently on my plate. Let me show you how much time it takes. Let me show you what I think the current priorities should be, and then let's get alignment and agreement. And yes, it might be a couple of uncomfortable conversations in the beginning, but once you start sharing the data, not emotions, once you continue to be objective, not subjective, all of a sudden they'll understand, they'll change, and everything will start shifting. So if you're one of those folks where you're in a position where you keep getting more and more pushed on you and you don't have enough resources, start tracking your time, start communicating, and remember the key motto: let data drive decisions, not emotions.